Hold a warm cup of coffee in your hands, then meet someone new. You may very slightly trust them more. Find them a little kinder. Be a little more willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. You won't notice you're doing it. You'll think you're just reading the person. But some of what you're feeling isn't coming from them at all. It's coming from your hands. The warmth of the cup is quietly leaking into your judgment of the stranger. And once you know why, you may never hold a hot drink the same way again. Now, that should sound ridiculous. A drink is a drink. A person is a person. The temperature of your coffee has nothing to do with whether someone is trustworthy. And yet, in one of the most famous experiments in modern psychology, that line between the warmth in your hand and the warmth in a person turned out to be a lot blurrier than anyone expected. Because deep down, in a very old part of your brain, warm is not two different things. It's one thing. The heat of a fire and the kindness of a friend run, at least partly, through the same wire. And to understand why, you have to go all the way back to the very first thing you ever felt, before you had words, before you had memories, before you knew you were a person at all. Let's start with the coffee. In 2008, two psychologists, Lawrence Williams and John Bargh, ran a study that sounds almost too simple to mean anything. They had a research assistant meet each volunteer in the lobby of a building, arms full, a clipboard, some books, and a cup of coffee. And they'd ask the volunteer casually to hold the coffee for just a moment while they wrote something down. For half the people, the cup was hot. For the other half, it was iced. That was it. A few seconds holding a cup. Then everyone went upstairs and read a short description of a completely made-up person and rated what that person was like. And the two groups saw the stranger differently. The people who had briefly held the warm cup were more likely to describe the person as that word again, warm, generous, caring. The people who'd held the iced coffee saw someone cooler, more distant. Same description, same words on the page. The only thing that had changed was the temperature in their hands a few minutes earlier. In a second version, they swapped the cup for a heating pad. Some people held one that was warm, someone that was cold, and then let them choose a small reward. The ones who'd held something warm were more likely to pick a little gift to give to a friend instead of keeping a treat for themselves. A warm hand and a slightly more open hand. Think back to the coffee in the lobby. Nobody in that study believed a cup had changed their mind. Every single one of them thought they were simply seeing the stranger clearly. That's the unsettling part. Not that the warmth nudged them, but that it did so completely below the waterline, dressed up as their own honest opinion. So what on earth is going on? The leading explanation points to a small, deep fold of the brain called the insula. And the insula has a strange double job. It's one of the main places your brain keeps track of the temperature of your body, whether you're too hot, too cold, just right. But it's also deeply involved in your social world, in trust, in feeling connected, in warmth toward other people, physical temperature, and human closeness being handled in overlapping ground. So when you hold something warm, you light up a region that also lights up when you feel close to someone. The signals bleed together. Your brain gets a little wash of warmth, and it isn't fussy about the source. You can hear this everywhere in the way we talk, if you listen. A kind person is a warm person. Someone unkind gives you the cold shoulder, an icy stare, a frosty reception. A good welcome is a warm welcome. We don't say this because it's poetic. We say it because, to some old layer of the mind, affection and temperature really are the same feeling, and almost every language on Earth seems to have made the same quiet mistake. That's the strange part. Not that we use warm for kindness. That we all do. English, Mandarin, Arabic, languages whose speakers never traded a single word with each other, reaching independently for heat to describe a good heart and cold to describe a cruel one. When unrelated people all make the same mistake, it usually isn't a mistake. It's a clue. It suggests this isn't a metaphor a poet invented. It's a wire we were all born with. And to see where that wire comes from, you have to go back to the very beginning of your life. Think about what love actually felt like before you understood a single thing about it. You were an infant. You couldn't see well. You didn't have words or thoughts or a name. But when someone who loved you picked you up and held you against their body, you felt heat. The warmth of another person's skin, being wrapped, held close, kept warm. For the first months and years of your life, over and over, two things arrive together: safety and warmth, being cared for and being warm. They came bundled so many times that your brain never fully filed them as separate things. Warmth wasn't like love. Warmth was the first evidence that love was there. There's a famous and frankly heartbreaking set of experiments that hints at how deep this goes. In the 1950s, the psychologist Harry Harlow gave infant monkeys a choice between two fake mothers. One was made of bare wire, but it held the bottle all the food. The other gave no food at all, but was wrapped in soft cloth and gently warmed, and the babies chose warmth. They'd feed from the wire mother as fast as they could, then rush back to cling to the warm one. Given the choice between food and warmth, they went again and again to the warmth. So this is what your brain built its idea of love on top of. Not words, not ideas. Heat and closeness and being held. Long before you could think the thought, "I am loved," you could feel the temperature of it. And your brain, doing what brains do, laid every later idea of affection right on top of that first warm foundation. The metaphor was never really a metaphor. Somewhere underneath everything, a warm body still means the oldest good news there is. You are safe, and you are not alone. Now, here is the part most videos would leave out, and shouldn't. That coffee cup study is beautiful. It's intuitive. It has been told and retold for years. It is also exactly the kind of study that science has since learned to be careful with. In the years after 2008, psychologists went through a hard, necessary reckoning sometimes called the replication crisis. The discovery that a lot of famous, tidy results, especially these small prime someone and watch their behavior shift studies, did not hold up as reliably as everyone had assumed. And when researchers ran much larger tests of the warm cup effect, the result got shaky. Some found a weak version. Some didn't find it at all. So the honest answer is, a warm cup of coffee probably will not reliably decide what you think of a stranger. If you are hoping to warm your way into a good first impression, hold that lightly. And it's worth sitting with that discomfort for a second, because it's the honest half of a story like this. The clean, shareable version, hold a hot drink and people will trust you, is the part that travels. The messy correction that came years later travels a lot less. A good idea and a true idea are not always the same idea, and the difference is easy to lose. But, and this is why the idea refuses to fully die, the deeper link keeps showing up in sturdier places. People made to feel lonely and left out. In study after study, report that the room feels physically colder. People who are lonely tend to take longer, warmer showers and baths, as if reaching for a warmth they're missing somewhere else. Lose the connection, and the body genuinely feels the chill. The cheap trick with the cup may not work, but the wire, it was pointing at the one that runs warmth and love through the same channel that one looks real. So step back, and it almost doesn't matter whether a mug can tip a first impression. What matters is the thing hiding underneath the whole question, that a huge portion of humanity, across languages that never met, all reached for the exact same word, warm, to describe the people who are good to us. Your body learned what love was before your mind could name it, and it filed that lesson under heat. You didn't decide that kindness feels warm. You were taught it, wordlessly, in the first arms that ever held you. So here is the small, strange thing to carry with you. The next time it's cold, and you wrap both hands around a hot mug, and you feel something in you settle a little safer, a little less alone, for no reason you could quite explain, that feeling is not nothing, and it is not really about the drink. It's the oldest memory your body has, from back before you had words for any of it, when being warm and being loved were the same thing and someone was holding you. You can feel it again for the price of a cup of tea.